Rece Davis, who's a much nicer man than I turn to you as the host of College Game Day on ESPN. Is that wrong? Is that wrong of me wanting the company in the misery department last night?
Not at all.
Thank you.
That's exactly what makes you a great college football fan, Rich. You want someone to be as miserable as you were.
Right.
And as we were watching that game at our dinner last night, and that conversation came up, which was worse or which would be worse. And I think, unfortunately for you, it still fell on Michigan because at the time Appalachian State was still FCS and all of that.
Yeah, so I have to watch SportsCenter last night, and it all starts with the review of what happened 9 years ago to set up. So I didn't even get the cherry on top of having the misery with the company.
It was. One of the interesting things about it, and I tweeted this last night, that Mike DeBoard had seen that movie before.
Oh, gosh.
The offensive coordinator at Tennessee, and he was running the offense at Michigan then, too.
Right. Oh, my gosh.
How about that?
But the football gods, Rece, wanted Tennessee to win that game last night in the same way they wanted Appalachian State to win it 9 years ago with the 2 missed kicks. How in the world did the coach of Appalachian State go into overtime with a timeout in his back pocket? I will never know. The ball gets fumbled into the end zone, and Tennessee winds up with it with a bunch of white shirts around. And, I guess I'm bitter, Rece. I just got to, you know what I'm saying? Just a bitter man.
But you know what? You are bitter with an understandable reason. You're right. That wasn't the only fumble. There were 3 fumbles in that game that were right there for Appalachian State to recover. Tennessee somehow got all of them, the missed kicks, and then the egregious clock management at the end. Maybe that's the thing that Tennessee needs to propel it to the expectations that people have for them. I tend to think they're a little weak in the offensive line. Not that they won't have a good season, but their offensive line got whipped last night, and they'll need some significant improvement if they're going to be as good as people think they can be.
Rece Davis of College Game Day on ESPN joining me here. For those who may not know where you are this week, where are you this week to kick things off?
We are at Lambeau Field for LSU in Wisconsin. This is the 74th different city that Game Day has been able to visit. So we're excited about the atmosphere. My whole plane yesterday coming to Green Bay was filled with LSU fans. It's a home state game for Wisconsin, so we're expecting a really, really good crowd tomorrow morning.
Have you ever been to Lambeau, Rece?
I have not, Rich. You know what? The only time I have seen Lambeau back in the day when we had the old Sports Night show, the show on which I started when I was hired by ESPN.
On the Deuce.
They sent, on the Deuce with everybody wearing denim, and if you wore a jacket, don't wear a tie. If you wear a tie, don't wear a jacket. They thought that made us look hip. They sent me somewhere in this area, I don't remember exactly where, to do a story on Ben Grieve when he was in the minor league.
Sure.
And I drove by and had a look at Lambeau, but I haven't seen a game here. So it's pretty cool. It's a beautiful place.
It is. It's just like, okay, house, Target, and then there's a stadium with the greatest history involving it right there. It's unbelievable what it's like. And then the fans around there, the tailgating, the whole spot. I mean, what a great place that's going to be for LSU and Wisconsin. Before we talk more college football, so who was on Sports Night? It was you? Was it Stu? Was it Susie Colbert at the time? Who was it?
Yeah,
Kenny?
it was Stu and Susie Colbert, and then doing the Sports Smash, please.
Yes,
Pito. It was Kenny Mayne, me, and Deb Kaufman.
Deb Kaufman. Okay. That's the Wayback Machine right there, Rece.
That was a long time ago.
Just because you look like you've never aged a day, people don't know you've been around ESPN for just that long, Rece. You know?
It's I am aging, Rich. I just have to have a good makeup artist and and all of that to try to hide it for a little bit and hold on as long as I can. You know how it goes in this business.
Sure, please tell me about it. Please look who you're talking to. So Joel Klatt was on the show yesterday, Rece, and said it's 3 touchdowns Alabama's going to whip USC by. That's not even going to be close to the most impressive or competitive game on the docket this week. Where do you stand on that front?
I don't believe I would respectfully disagree with Joel on that. I do think Alabama has a better team, and I've seen Alabama in practice this fall, and I saw USC in practice in the spring. And SC has some dangerous playmakers. I do think that the big question for them is the defensive line. But one of the issues for Alabama that we don't know, it's not as if they're not putting talented people in place of the guys they lost. But if you go with the fundamental that all sports teams have to be strong right up the middle, Alabama lost a Heisman Trophy winning running back, its quarterback, a first-round draft pick at center, 2 defensive tackles that were second-round picks, I believe, and a second-round inside linebacker, their best linebacker. So they're replacing the guts of their team. You don't know about mistakes. I think SC has people that can turn mistakes into touchdowns at the cornerback position. So I don't expect that type of mismatch in that game at all. In fact, I think it is as challenging an opening game, and Alabama's played a lot of these high-profile neutral site opening games. I think it is as challenging a game as they've had in a number of years, given what they're having to replace and the skill level of the team they're playing.
So which team do you think should be on upset alert this weekend in a manner that Tennessee was on all of a sudden last night, Rece?
I would say among ranked teams, even though the spread's not really that big, I would say that would be Texas A&M. I think UCLA's ranked. A&M is the underdog, but I think that or A&M is the favorite, I should say. I think them, but the one that I think really, Rich, sort of off the radar a little bit, I think Western Michigan has a great shot to beat Northwestern. Northwestern really struggled on offense last year. Western Michigan has one of the best receivers in the country, somebody that you'll be talking about in the NFL very soon, a kid named Corey Davis. I think Western Michigan's got a great shot at beating Northwestern if you're looking for one of those MAC over Power 5 conference upsets.
What about Clemson and Auburn? What about that one? I know Clemson's on the road here. What do you think about this one?
I could be wrong about this, but the way you said that Joel feels about the USC-Alabama game, I feel that way about the Clemson-Auburn game. I think Clemson, it'll probably be close for a half. I think Clemson has so much firepower against Auburn. I don't know. Auburn, not sure their quarterback situation's resolved. They're a mess at running back. I think Clemson smacks Auburn pretty handily.
So by the end of, I guess, Saturday night then, because tonight we're going to see McCaffrey on the field against Kansas State, and then you're going to see Fournette in Lambeau, which that's so awesome. I mean, that's just great, man. Fournette and Lambeau. And then Deshaun Watson. Who do you think's going to have the first leg up in that Heisman race from that trio? Do you think after week one? I would say
among those three, it would be Watson. They have an embarrassment of riches at wide receiver. Their offensive line is experienced. The guy that played left tackle for them last year was a freshman. He's a budding star, so you've got that. And watching him practice, Rich, I mean, he has uncanny accuracy. He is a splendid player and leader and a great kid and uber talented. I think he'll be the one. McCaffrey certainly will get his opportunities to shine, on big stages, particularly early in the season. But I think coming out of Saturday, it'll be Watson who has the biggest wow factor.
Rece Davis, college game day, before I let you go, who's your Final Four preseason? Who do you have preseason going to the playoffs?
It's a tough one, and you won't like one of them, but I'm saying it's going to be Clemson, Ohio State. The last two are the ones I really, really struggle with, but I'm going to say Alabama and Stanford.
Why wouldn't I like one of those teams, Rece? I don't understand what you mean.
Because Ohio State rather than Michigan.
Well, you know what?
A lot of people are thinking Michigan.
Joel Klatt put Michigan in. I didn't like that either. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear it. To me, that's the Ziggy. I don't need the Ziggy. I don't need it. I don't want it.
Well, the good thing is you're going to be in contention through at least until the end of October, because the schedule sets up beautifully for them to get the quarterback ready. I mean, there's virtually no shot of them not being 7-0 when they go play Michigan State. I can't conceive of them not winning all of those games rather easily.
I've got a question for you, one last one involving one of your colleagues. But, Law, ask the question that you wanted to ask about Corso. Ask that one.
Well, we're gonna see Corso take a Lambeau leap at all. Is he going to get any instruction from Dez, possibly?
What do you think, Rece?
Corso would be in good enough shape to take the leap. I saw him just a minute ago, and whenever coach is over in a corner huddling, he's got something up his sleeve. So I think he's got something up his sleeve, and he never wants any of us to know. So he's going to surprise us at the beginning of the show, and certainly he will at the end. Now, whether that entails a leap, I don't know.
And
I can tell you this: you see him walk up and down the sideline. He's in good enough shape to do it.
And how popular is Desmond in Green Bay, Rece? He's the mayor.
Dez is pretty popular everywhere
Right.
he goes, but there's a different level here.
Yeah, MVP of the Super Bowl, for crying out loud.
No question.
And I'll leave you with this story, Rece, okay? Rod Woodson told me the story about being recruited to Indiana because, he's Mr. Indiana. You know who recruited him to Indiana? Is Lee Corso. It was Lee Corso.
Really?
Yes. And you know how he recruited him? I'll tell you this story. Rod Woodson said he got a knock at the door. It was Lee Corso. Lee Corso said, son, I've just been fired, but Indiana's still a great place to go. You should go there. That was the pitch from Lee Corso to Rod Woodson. Rece.
How about that?
That's a true story.
He remembers everything, Rich, and it's one of the things that I've enjoyed the most over the 2 years. You ask him about anything that's happened in his career, and he has explicit, detailed memories of it. I can't wait to bring that one up to him. That's awesome.
That's what Rod told me. Rece, thanks for joining. I'd love to have you throughout the season. Really love chatting with you.
That sounds good, Rich. Hey, and if I may say real quickly, Rich, I know you got to go.
Sure.
I was listening to your Kaepernick discussion earlier. There's nobody better in media to handle that with an even hand and to say thought-provoking, thoughtful, insightful things than you. I thought you did a brilliant job.
Rece, you're a good man. Thanks for saying that, bud. I really appreciate that. That's nice of you to say. That's Rece Davis here.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.